and I work as a ward sister in nephrology. And again, only the other week, this to me was just a prime example of naturally using sage and thyme. So I had a gentleman who had actually had to ring up because his wife was really unwell, and had actually had a couple of respiratory arrests. So I'd had to get him to the ward, and he obviously came to the ward and he was extremely anxious, and like I am now. And we'd sat him in the day room, and they were like, oh, Helen, because they know that obviously on the ward that I'm a sage and thyme facilitator. So I think they feel, although quite a lot of our staff have done the training, they still sort of look to you to say, oh, you know, can you go see this gentleman, because he was obviously visibly distressed.
So the particularly distressed patients, they send in your direction?
Yeah.
Which is what you're meant to do with the senior staff, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was fine. And, you know, that's why I did the training, and that's what I want to be able to do, and to be an example for other staff to be able to deal with that situation, but actually deal with it in a calm manner and not get upset, or let that gentleman upset me, I suppose, because a lot of the staff do get upset.
So what was helpful about sage and thyme? As you approached him, what was helpful about knowing about sage and thyme?
So what wasn't helpful was that I knew that I had a structure in my head of how I was going to talk to this gentleman, and I knew that I would be able to then hold my emotions in to be able to help him, and I knew that I would be able to listen to him and deal with that situation as it was at that moment. This
so it
lady
gave you some courage.
It did, yeah.
And it gave you some structure, and that allowed you not to worry too much about yourself, but to concentrate on him.
Yes, this lady had been, or is with us, has been on the ward for a long length of time, so we all knew her very well.
And you must have known him as well then?
And we'd known him for a long length of time, yeah. So he came in and used a sage and thyme model on him. And although this gentleman had been coming in for a length of time, there were things that I didn't know about him, and that in this situation I got to know about him by using the model. I asked him, you know, his main concern at the moment, and his main concerns were that although his wife was really ill, again, very recently the lady had had a fall on our ward, and we'd given her an injury by having a fall. And his main concern was that she wasn't going to come out of hospital, and that they'd been married for 40 years and that she wasn't going to come home.
Being married for 40 years was an emotion mixed up with the fact that she wasn't well, and that there'd been an accident, and all of that was going around in his head.
And it was all tied together, yeah.
So those were his concerns. How did it, once you discovered that, you stuck with the model, I take it?
Yeah, we did stick with the model. So then, as you know, it was who do you talk to? And actually, he did have people on the other end of the phone, but nobody lived nearby. They all lived a distance away. So there was nobody there on a day-to-day basis for him, nobody that could help him. You know, he sort of said, I have neighbours that come in and can do my vacuum or would cook meals for me, but that's no help to me when I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I can't sleep. So there was really nobody there.
So he had a lot of concerns that were mixed up about his marriage and so on, and not much support really for him.
No.
Certainly not any support in the middle of the night.
No. So that you know, there was a lot around that. There was, you know, that was then very evident to me that actually there was nobody there to support this gentleman.
And prior to Sage and Thyme, prior to Sage and Thyme, you might have thought, blimey, a man with a lot of distress, a man worried about whether we're looking after his wife properly, a man who's not really got much support. Where would you have gone with that discussion before Sage and Thyme?
Yeah, because then it did give me the, you know, confidence to again put it back to him and say, so what do you think would help? You know, what do you think would help you?
And what did he say?
And the one thing that would help him was he wanted actually to be, he wanted to be involved in something practical, in being involved in why the lady had fallen, because he said that would help him to understand why she had to wear this collar and to prevent it happening to somebody else.
So he wanted to know the details of the fall?
Yeah, he wanted to be involved in the root cause that we'd have to do with practically.
Okay.
And that he said that would help him, and it would help him deal with the situation. But then on another practical level, he just spoke about having to travel every day to see his wife, and that he got very stressed when he came to the ward because there was nowhere to park.
So that was another concern he added at that point. You should
yeah.
have said, hang on a minute, we've finished the concerns.
No, I'm sorry. No, it was then about what can I do?
All right.
Sorry, yeah. So we finished the what would help him.
Yeah.
And
helping him would be knowing about how
why
you're going
she
to
fell
investigate the fall.
and to
And then you
prevent
moved
that
on to,
happening.
is this something I can do? And he
Yeah.
mentioned this issue about
And
travel.
then that was about the travelling and how stressful he found when he came to hospital and he couldn't park. And would there be something? So then that's something I have got an answer, yeah. So that was something that I could do, and that did help me, that I could do something really quite simple, but I got a permit for patients that are seriously ill and managed to get him a parking permit. And that really helps him. But not only that, I think it's helped form a special bond between him, because I feel like, although he's always come to the ward, he doesn't have anybody on a day-to-day basis that supports him emotionally. So now I always really look out for him, and I know he looks out for me.
So you connected.
So we're connected, and we have that connection because he comes every day.
And why do you think you connected with him? Which bit of the model was helping you, or which bit of the way you were doing was helping you develop that connection?
It was. Oh, I don't know whether I can split the model. It was actually going to sitting down and giving him, and it wasn't a long length of time. It was probably 10 minutes maximum. It was listening to him.
Connecting by listening to his concerns.
And that he actually cried, and being empathetic. Well, I think we're always empathetic. It was giving him that, taking that time out to sit and listen to him, and understanding where he is on his everyday life, because he was on his own and he didn't have anybody.